Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands. Excuse the voice, got a bit of a sore throat. But for this video I'm going to be asking the question, was 1981 the greatest year for horror? Now I wasn't born in 1981, but when you look back at that particular year, there's tons and tons of great horror movies, some great releases that came out. It must have been a really exciting time to go to the cinema in 1981 because there were some real gems. So this is something that I've kind of considered for quite a while, and I have seen other people do these kind of videos, and quite a few people argue the case for 1981. So whereas this isn't an original idea, I should preface that at the beginning. I've always thought 1981 had an impressive list of films, so I'm going to go through some of the key ones and argue the case for this year, and let me know what you think. I'm not going to go into detail with each film, it'd take too long. I'm just going to quick fire, go through some of the releases from 81, and let me know what you think. Let me know if this is a contender, in your opinion, for the best year in horror. So first up on this list from 1981, we're starting strong with American Werewolf in London. So arguably the greatest werewolf movie ever made. I think it's fair to say the greatest werewolf transformation scene of all time. So cinema goers were treated to that. It's also just a really great film, great mix of horror and comedy, so I imagine this would have been a lot of fun to go and see in the cinema in 1981. So yeah, good one there to start with, An American Werewolf in London. Okay, next up for this year, we've got some Italian horror with Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. So this is a great example of a horror film from 1981, great example of Lucio Fulci and the movies that he made, and a great example of Italian horror as well. That was also very strong in this year. But I love The Beyond. I think it's a great story of the hotel being a gateway to hell. It's a little bit clumsily told at times, but really what sells this is the incredible gore effects that Fulci would come to be recognised by. So lots of kind of like face ripping, eyes being pulled out, blood and guts, and just really sort of visceral, gruesome gore on display here. I love The Beyond. I think it's a great film. And the opening scene where the guy is crucifixed to the wall, it's still a pretty horrifying scene. So yeah, really cool movie. Is The Beyond. Another really good one there. Okay, next up, I didn't want to leave this off the list. This is Burial Ground, which is not exactly a good movie. It's an absolutely crazy zombie film that I absolutely love. I'd have had so much fun watching this in the cinema in 1981. I always thought this was 1980, but I think Wikipedia says 1981, so I'm going on what I think and what the internet seems to say. So sorry if I get these a year out or so, but anyway, Burial Ground, awesome movie. It's absolutely crazy. The zombie carnage starts right from the beginning and never lets up. And there's some really cool looking zombies in this that come out of the grave and besiege this kind of giant country house. There's some weird elements to it as well. It's a bit of a strange one, but I absolutely love it, and there's not a dull moment in Burial Ground. I highly recommend checking this one out if you like your crazy 80s zombie movies. So that's that one. Next up from this year, we have The Burning, one of my favourite slasher movies of all time. Great movie. I love the summer camp setting. I think that makes for a great slasher movie. Really cool deaths in it. Obviously the infamous raft scene and the shears. Cropsey looks cool. I like the music, and yeah, it's just an awesome film. So yeah, Friday the 13th was a big hit in 1980, so that kind of kick-started all these slasher movies. So it would have been cool to see another one in the form of The Burning. And I actually like The Burning more than the first Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is my favourite franchise, but out of the first two movies, I do prefer The Burning. It's really cool, so definitely wanted to include that on this list. Okay, next up, again, I wanted to include this one. This is Cannibal Ferox, so representing the Italian cannibal genre with this one. I just wanted to include this one because I think throwing a bit of extreme horror for this year. There's quite a few video nasties that make the list, including this one. But I'm a big fan of the Italian cannibal genre, despite its controversy. And I just think this was a really good film, kind of a important film, if you will, in the landscape of video nasties. And it would have just been kind of cool to see this on its release. I think probably back in '81 it would have been a lot more taboo than what it is now, but I think I would have enjoyed it anyway if I'd have got the chance to see it, which I probably wouldn't have done in the UK at the time, but never mind. But yeah, Ferox is a great film. And sticking with the video nasties, and one of the absolute best video nasties on the list is Dead and Buried. This is an absolutely fantastic film. I've talked about this before. Unlike anything else on the video nasties list, in the sense that this one seems a lot more upmarket. It has a lot more of a glossier production than any of the other video nasties. Great story of these townspeople killing off outsiders and people coming back to life. Some pretty nasty deaths in this as well. I must say it has 2 or 3 quite strong scenes that I can see why it got banned. But it's a really well made and fantastic film. Is Dead and Buried. I've always been impressed with this one. So yeah, another great heavy hitter for 1981. Next up, this one doesn't really need much talking about. We have The Evil Dead, Sam Raimi's groundbreaking demonic sort of cabin in the woods type movie. Introduced us to Bruce Campbell. Really cool movie, ferociously entertaining, non-stop gore and violence, and a few comedic elements as well. It really is a cool horror movie, Evil Dead. I can see why this one was so popular and remains so popular. Very fun movie. Don't really know what else to say about that one. Next up is Friday the 13th Part 2. So, as I say, Friday the 13th is my favourite franchise. Part 2 is not actually anywhere near my favourite one in that series. I'm not super keen on Part 2, mainly because I really like Hockey Mask Jason. The sackhead Jason doesn't do a lot for me in this one, so I don't watch this one as much as some of the others. But as a prototypical slasher film, I think Friday the 13th Part 2 is excellent and a masterclass of how it should be done. Again, it's set at a summer camp, one of my favourite locations for a slasher film. The kills in this are amazing. The atmosphere and the creepiness of the camp is fantastic, and it's got a great final girl as well. So pretty worthy sequel to the first Friday the 13th, and just a really good general example of a slasher film. So I definitely wanted to include Friday the 13th Part 2. Next up, we have The Funhouse. Not a film that I'm actually super keen on, but it does seem to be a very popular movie, so I thought I'd throw it on here because I know a lot of you guys like it, and it's a good case for 1981 being so good. But yeah, Funhouse is not bad. I haven't watched it for a long time. Next up is Ghost Story, which is a wonderfully old-fashioned, creepy ghost story set in the dead of winter with Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and John Houseman, and they are sort of haunted by a ghost from their past. It's absolutely wonderful, full of creepy atmosphere, and it's a very cold film. Like I say, it takes place in winter, but it really does make use of the snow and ice and just the wintry darkness. It's freezing to look at, but really that's what really adds to the spooky atmosphere. I've always really appreciated Ghost Story. Very kind of left field for a lot of these movies. A lot of these kind of 81 was like the time for slasher films, which were very kind of had a summer feel, where this doesn't. It's completely cold and dark, and goes against most of the movies on this list. Anyway, but it's a wonderful film. I really like Ghost Story. Next up we have Halloween 2, another great sequel. I warm to Halloween 2 more and more. I think it's excellent and possibly on par with the original. It really does flow very well and makes a great companion piece with the first Halloween. I love the hospital setting. I think it's the best horror film to take place in a hospital. Michael Myers is awesome in it. Donald Pleasance is awesome in it. It's a really, really good film. Really great slasher film. So definitely wanted to include Halloween 2. Next up is Happy Birthday to Me. Again, sticking with the slasher cycle. Been a while since I watched this one, but I know I really enjoyed it. It had some cool kills in it, including this kind of infamous kebab stick kill. And has a pretty good ending, which I didn't see coming either. So this is again one of the more better slasher movies from that early 80s cycle. Next up we have Hell Night. Pretty cool Linda Blair vehicle. Her and a few of her friends are trapped in this big sort of dark gothic house, and it's all sort of spooky, and then there's this kind of creature that looms around and comes out and gets them towards the end. It's a very slow burn film, very, very, very slow, but I liked it for its atmosphere. I love the big gothic house setting. Linda Blair was cool in it, and it had some decent moments when it got going. But yeah, definitely a slow burn, but a good exercise in sort of horror atmosphere and a good use of big sort of internal creepy house locations. It's always been one that I've enjoyed. Okay, next up we have, which is probably my favourite werewolf film. I need to think about it, but it's certainly up there. We have The Howling. So I'd certainly say it's on par with An American Werewolf in London. I probably like the story of The Howling a little bit more, how she goes to that woodland retreat and there's werewolves there. It's got a great transformation scene. I think it's An American Werewolf in London kind of overshadows the effects in The Howling because they are really, really good. The scene where Robert Picardo transforms into a werewolf is awesome. And yeah, one of my favourite films, one of my favourite werewolf movies. So definitely another heavy hitter for 1981 being so good. And I like that it's set in that colony in the woods as well. Another really cool slasher, My Bloody Valentine. Really awesome killer in this with the miner guy with the mask and the pickaxe. I like that they sort of use the Valentine's Day as sort of a catalyst for this one. After Halloween, it was kind of a trend to link slashers to some kind of annual holiday. So this time around it was Valentine's Day, which I thought worked surprisingly well. So this is another really effective slasher from that time period. Been a long time since I've seen that one though. And next up, a really underrated movie. Very underrated slasher with The Prowler. This is really, I highly recommend checking this one out if you haven't seen it. About I think he's like a soldier who gets jilted by his girlfriend and then comes back years later and starts killing people off with a pitchfork. And it's really good. Really, really cool film as The Prowler. One of my favourite slashers, but it definitely goes under the radar. And it has some of Tom Savini's best special effects. Some of the kills in this are remarkable. I don't know how he made them look so realistic, but yeah, really, really good slasher is The Prowler. And then the last one I picked out for 1981 is Scanners, which I'm not a huge fan of Scanners. It's never done a lot for me. Not too keen on the story. I won't say it's convoluted. The story doesn't grab me. I don't think it's great in that respect. However, the exploding head scene is just incredible. If I had a time machine, one of the things I would definitely do is go back to 1981 and go to a cinema and watch that exploding head scene amongst a crowd of unsuspecting moviegoers. That must have been mind-blowing. Pun intended. So yeah, I would love to have seen Scanners back in the day and witnessed that for the first time. So that is just some of the movies that came out in 1981. There was a lot more. I just thought I'd pick these ones out. So yeah, like I say, these really do, I think, make a case for 1981 being the best year in horror. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think there's another year that's better? And let me know what movies make it so. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.